It's interesting because the New York Times did a story over the weekend about Obama, wimp or warrior. And so the idea was, is he too soft on terrorism, or is he strong enough, and does he do enough bombings and random acts of war and violence, right? Now, I think the article is hideous because of the framing. So what? If you're strong and you just do random bombings, that's good. And if you don't, you're a wimp. No, it should be, are you smart and effective in fighting terrorism, or are you dumb and ineffective in fighting terrorism? The article seems to assume that if you commit more violence and you have more war and more bombings, that you're a warrior and that's good and you're not a wimp. Okay, New York Times gives you a pass. It's completely conservative framing. Conservatives have to love the way that that question is asked. As we talk about on the show all the time, it's not the answer, it's the question that's posed. But when you go to the answer, so the question is hideous, when you go to the answer, well, it turns out they're totally wrong on it. That's not how the Americans see it. In fact, that CNN poll that I mentioned to you earlier, 57% of Americans said that Obama handled the national security scare over Christmas, the Nigerian getting on the plane to Detroit, effectively. It's his best score in any category. So the whole time in the media in Washington, the conservative media churns it out. Oh, Obama's a wimp. Obama's weak. Obama's weak. He handled it terribly. Can you believe that? It's totally ineffective. And so New York Times is like, oh my God, Fox News said it. They run with the story. And they see a wimp. Is he a warrior? What's going on? And they run the story. And then they find out the polls are, oh no, the American people thought it was totally fine. They thought he handled it as well as he's handled anything. They're not concerned with the facts. They're not concerned about your opinion. They're concerned about what the opinion of Washington is, and the conventional wisdom in that godforsaken city. Okay, and that's why Obama keeps shifting more and more to the right, because he's in Washington, and Washington is a hell of a lot more conservative. Whether it's the media, whether it's the business interests, the lobbyists, or the politics, they're a lot more conservative than the rest of the country. Okay, and then. So let's you say, wait a minute, now how did the conservative media drive this? Well, let me give you examples, okay? First, let's go to O'Reilly and Rove, clip number 1, guys, and listen to the nonsense they spew, and then I will tell you what actual military lawyers think. Let's watch.
President Obama now finds himself in a very, very tough position. I said earlier, and I don't know whether you saw it, but earlier this week, one more terrorist attack, one more. Right. But it has to be one of magnitude. You'd have to have dead American bodies on display. One more, he's done, I think, in my opinion, because it's just he staked territory so far away from Bush-Cheney, and the Bush-Cheney policies did protect us. They did work. But he staked territory so far away from that people aren't going to forget that. And the perception is going to be he can't keep us safe. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I think he wants controversy over this issue. We should be unified in order to distract attention from what we really ought to be concerned about, which is, thank God he finally said it's a war. But when is he going to continue to act? When is he going to start acting as if it's a war? I think he ought to seriously consider in the next several weeks withdrawing the designation of the Christmas Day bomber as a criminal defendant and put him as an enemy combatant, and then put him back in the system to be squeezed.
All right, here we go with the onslaught of stupidity, okay? We should squeeze them more. I'm going to get to the JAG lawyers on what they think of that in a second. But first, O'Reilly, in the beginning, seems to be cheering on the idea of more dead American bodies. He's like, oh, if we just get one more, I'm sure we could destroy him. I mean, he would be in a lot of trouble with the American people. Do the polls back that up? No. The polls think he handled that very nicely, especially compared to his standings in other issues. 57% is a really nice number, right? And it's like, oh, but if we just got one more full of dead American bodies, we could really roast him. I mean, he'd be in trouble with the American people. And then you go to, oh, Bush-Cheney kept us safe. I mean, this is a theme they have worked so hard at, that 9/11 doesn't count, okay? And then you should ignore every other terrorist attack that happened afterwards, the anthrax, the shoe bomber, et cetera, et cetera. And Iraq doesn't count either, okay? That, oh, yeah, well, 5,000 Americans died there, but, and we had so many terrorist bombings there, and we went there when we didn't need to, and all those kids didn't need to die, American kids, let alone the Iraqis. But no, that doesn't count either. Bush Cheney, it's over. Conventional wisdom, Washington. Bush Cheney kept us safe. Okay? And then he goes on to, Rove goes on to say, all he has to say is it's a war. You say the magic words, and all of a sudden everything's fine. They revel in their stupidity. Yeah, you say the magic words, and that guy's not going to get on that flight from Nigeria to Detroit, right? He's like, oh, Obama said it was a war. Forget it. It's off. I can't let go of how stupid that is. Okay, anyway, now finally we get to the problem is he's treating them as criminal defendants. So they asked JAG officers, retired, like for example, James Cullen, retired Brigadier General, who's military lawyers, right? Hey, what would be the difference if they kept this the underwear bomber in the military as opposed to turning him into a criminal defendant? He said the difference would be nearly nothing. Okay, he said, what do they think this is? I'll give you an exact quote. The military is not some type of Soviet show trial kangaroo court. He absolutely would have gotten a lawyer in the military as well. So like Rove and O'Reilly go out there and they're like, oh, we should have just squeezed the guy, squeeze him, yeah. He doesn't get a lawyer and we just keep him there, etc. But the JAGs are like, what are you talking? Do you know how the military works at all? We don't run gulags. You know what we give to the defendants as soon as we think we're going to try them? We give them lawyers. Well, is there a difference in time in how long you have to get intelligence before the Obama administration turned them over to the criminal system, and how much time we would have had for intelligence on the military system? The JAGs say nearly non-existent. It would have been almost the same exact period of time. Okay, and then you go to point number 4. It turns out, of course, you know what O'Reilly has made this point before over and over. Look, we do some enhanced interrogations, you know, and literally squeeze him, if you know what I mean. Here's the problem. The Military Commissions Act, which was hideous in a lot of other ways, but passed at the behest of George W. Bush, John McCain, etc., a lot of Republicans, actually says that the military must treat these detainees in the same way that you would with the Army Field Manual. That's in the law. So it would be illegal to treat them any other way. So this fantasies of them pulling Jack Powers and pulling this guy's fingernails out, you couldn't do it anyway, based on the law passed by the Republicans. Okay, now Bush would ignore that law from time to time, and that leads us to our final point, the indefinite detentions. Now, you could do an indefinite detention and say, all right, I'm never going to give this guy any rights, and I'm going to send him to Gitmo or a black site, and but then the military lawyers explain, you could never really try him. And that's the bind that Obama's in now, when we got a bunch of guys we think are guilty, but we've done all these terrible things to them. And not only is that going to come out in court, that isn't even the biggest problem. The problem is none of that evidence is admissible under civilian courts or military courts. So then we can't try them. So this guy who already admitted everything in the first 30 hours, why wouldn't you want to try him? You're going to send him to a black site, or you're going to send him to get squeezed somewhere, which is both illegal, and then leads you to not being able to try him and convict him and bring him to justice. Why would you do that? You would do that if you're a conservative moron like Bill O'Reilly or Karl Rove.